damage from it.
And with, of course, both Jungle Warden and Aaron rotating, we don't have that problem anymore.
But more importantly, we're getting right into this game. We have Portalcraft versus Havencraft, Pain on Haven.
Now this is Puppet versus Tinko, correct?
Yes, it is.
All right. Lococo, Little Puppeteer. What do you think about this card? I think it's amazing.
I think Lococo is very strong. Lococo is very similar to a card that was pretty popular, actually. One of Mr. Jay-Z's favorite cards, Lily, Crystalia
Lily.
This card is very similar to Crystalia Lily, where it's able to come down, remove something at an enhanced cost. They're both 2-play point 2/2s. The difference is Lily would enhance at 6 and leave your opponent with a 1/1 snowman, whereas Lococo enhances at 5 and leaves your opponent with a 1/3 puppet.
I saw some people saying that Lococo maybe wasn't the best card before the expansion dropped, and I kind of questioned that reasoning that thought, because I played this game through a period of time where Lily existed, and that card was insane. I don't know how Lococo couldn't also be insane. It's just super high value removal.
I think some of the thought was that, well, you can't bounce your Lococos like you're able to with your Lilies, but you're able to Hamlin them, so you can get more. I think the card is just very solid. So we have just doing a little bit of early trading. I imagine this is going to get either Black Inscripture, maybe we'll see the White Fang Temple come down. There's actually quite a few options to be had here if you're Pain.
I'm not too experienced with playing Tinko. I would probably just Scripture here to deny the puppet.
I would think the White Fang, and he agrees. So my thinking for the White Fang is you want to just curve out with your mana. Next turn you can go with the Black Inscriptor and the Moria.
Yeah. I think this line is just hoping you top deck Tinko. And of course, I'm very surprised we did not see the Silva enhance that Pure-Hearted Singer, or the Silva accelerate that Pure-Hearted Singer out, just to get the 1 extra chip damage this turn.
Yeah, usually accelerating out Silva on a Pure-Hearted Singer doesn't feel bad because you're going to get that card back anyway. Part of I don't want to say problem, but I'll say problem anyway for lack of a better term. Part of the problem with Silva is that she actually costs you 2 cards because she forces you to accelerate out a card that you have in your hand. So the Pure-Hearted Singer is able to make up for that card disadvantage that you're putting yourself through.
The other side of that argument says that card disadvantage is made up for by the chip damage that stacks up every turn. Because that'd be another right here. He'd be down to 14 right now?
He would be at 13 at the moment.
13, of course. I did math wrong for some reason. Bashful Almirage. Of course, this Tinko deck not drawing its Tinko Shrine kind of hurts.
This deck is, I don't want to say 100% dependent on it, but it's called Tinko Shrine for a reason. That card gives the deck a massive power spike.
Yeah, going turn 3 White Fang into Tinko Shrine into turn 5 White Fang is a little oppressive.
It's very hard to deal with all of the extra damage that the Tinko Shrine is able to generate.
And of course, the downside to playing a deck with that relies on a single card is exactly what we're seeing right here. You don't draw that single card, and, well, I guess that's, all she wrote.
Well, that's not to say that's the case, though, because I do think the Haven is in a pretty reasonable situation. We do have De La Phil to come down next turn. This Paracelsus is going to have to trade into your Almirage.
Of course.
This leaves up a pretty strong board for the Portalcraft, though. And we'll have to see if the Haven is actually going to be able to heal up enough out of this and find their Tinko Shrine in time.
Of course, the Haven player does have plenty of tools to stay alive.
Like
that Nemesis Purge giving it an option to wipe away a large scary board later.
What's really important about Nemesis Purge is a banish effect, so that'll remove things like a Flower Doll, or remove things like a Pure-Hearted Singer.
Or the Automation Knight.
Automaton Knight, it'll deny that puppet as well.
Automaton, I don't know why I said Automation. And our Haven player putting up a nice, reasonable board himself.
So, look at this. Lococo coming down. You're saying, you know what, that 6/6, it's actually a 1/3, plus it's going to give me a puppet.
And we'll likely see no, he doesn't have any evolves. I'm wrong. He can clear this with these puppets if he so chooses, and he does so choose.
So what do you think about the choice to go for the Ward Golem, the Ward artifact, rather than the Rush artifact?
I think the Rush artifact would have been better right there. But I think in the long run, these wards are just more valuable.
If you're not getting the immediate value out of the rush, oftentimes the ward is just going to be better, I feel.
Yeah, it's easy to look at a single turn and say, well, yeah, rush would have been nice right here. But it's not always. And finally, finding his Tinko Shrine.
And this is fine, honestly. This Tenko Shrine is... It's not perfectly on time, but it's on time enough. You'll be able to play your Tenko Shrine, it'll destroy this 3-2, or it'll destroy the 2-2. Next turn you have Nemesis Purge to fall back on if things get real bad. But opting to not go with that.
Does choose to not play it here. That Jean Beacon of Salvation, of course, another option to clear out a wide board later on. He's just going for the heavier heal option as he feels he's behind on board. It's a decision I can respect.
Orcus. That's going
of course, not enough puppets in hand.
Well, that's okay, though, because there are 2 Orcuses, right? There are 2 Orcuses in the hand, plus that Noah.
The first Orcus does, of course, give 3 puppets in hand, if you don't already have to. Now he chooses to play the Silva. This is what I feel, this is perhaps I feel a mistake. Not that he's playing it now, but that he didn't play it earlier, rather. Because that's a lot of chip damage that could have been adding up to this point.
Yeah, it would have been...
It would have completely counteracted that White Fang Temple.
We'd probably see the Haven somewhere around 14 or 15 HP right now,
Yeah.
had that Silva been played earlier.
Of course, not a huge deal, but when your win condition is Orcus and Noah, you have to take all the chip you can get. Of course, there's Jean coming down right here.
And Jean isn't that great on this board, to be honest. It's not going to remove this...
Spinaria?
Yeah, it's not going to remove the Spinaria. And this is going to be... Oh, interesting.
Does choose to go for the Orcus here, just to get the puppets in hand. Sets up for either the Noah or the Orcus, whichever he wants to play. Chooses to play one of the puppets out just to clear this. Sheepy doing a good job of keeping the board pressured enough that this Tinko doesn't come down. However, it's kind of hard to play around Double Morier, and it will get a chance to come down on the board here. Likely alongside the Bashful Outlaw Rush.
Yeah, and I think this is going to be very strong for the Haven. The Portal has been able to remove the Haven's board every single turn and leave himself up with a little bit of something. But now there's a Tenko Shrine on the board, and that makes it much more difficult. And the Haven has basically ignored all the damage that the Portal has done, being at 19 HP.
Of course, this I forget this guy's name.
That guy's name is Nicholas.
Nicholas. Mr. Nicholas coming down for his Enhance Affected 8. Very, very strong tempo play. It's 9-8 in stats. Not shabby.
But it's not going to line up all too well here, I feel.
He does have to completely stack this Serenian High, but he chooses to pass his turn instead. Is that enough pings to clear the board?
It will be 4 pings. I don't think that's quite enough.
He clears one of these. Alright. Not too bad, all things considered. Of course, knew he was only going to clear one thing there.
So now, if you're this Portal Craft, you're sitting at 16 HP. You haven't really been able to put a dent in your opponent. And you're sitting on a kind of awkward hand of 2 Basilius. Now, Basilius is a newer card for Havencraft, being a 6-play 0.56. But that's all it does on the front half. If you want to get the most out of your Basilius, you're going to need an Evo point, which we already see the Portal's all out of. And he will evolve and he'll banish everything. He'll do a Black and Scripture effect on everything your opponent controls. But
of course, not affecting amulets, unfortunately.
Now
when we see a Noah come down there to trade with the board, not something you want to do against Haven.
So now you're in the position as the Portal Craft where you're thinking, maybe I can just outgrind my opponent. I can get enough out of my cards where he won't have enough to actually end the game. And that's a bit of a skeptical proposition, because we see this Delafil. We have a 6/6 dragon about to pop.
Yeah, this is looking pretty scary for the Portal player, Mr. Sheepy. Of course, has to leave all this up, and is just going to get punged down by Knights, by Tinko Shrine again, very likely. That Black Inscription not helping the cause.
Yeah, gonna say goodbye, puppet. You're not gonna get that.
And with only one puppet in hand and only one more Orcus, he doesn't really have a whole lot of gas here to keep moving on. Now, do you agree with this trade, or do you think you should just go face here?
I think for the most part, trading is okay, because as long as you're getting the most out of your Tenko Shrine, you're able to keep your opponent's board clear. It's hard for them to get back onto the board.
My thought process was that you only got the one ping anyways, so it didn't die regardless. Of course, Sheepy does trade it in himself anyways. So maybe one missed face damage. Of course, another 5/6 coming down alongside this Paracelsus. Feels bad, but it's about all you can do.
Okay, and there's a second Tenko Shrine. That's a pretty strong draw.
This is just 2 pings. Not worried about this damage on board as he is at 20.
Yeah, so now, no matter what the Portal Craft does, as if you're Pain, you're sitting on this Nemesis Purge and you're saying, I have guaranteed 4 damage no matter what happens. So things have to go pretty bad now for you to just not be able to grind this game out with your Tenko Shrines.
Of course, he does have the passive healing effect with De La Field, this being a situation which is very good. That is also a very nice top deck, which I believe will just seal the game.
So this is
if it wasn't already.
This is going to threaten to trade with that 5/5, and that's honestly more than enough at the moment. The only value card, if value is even the right word, in Onion Sheep's hand right now is that Automaton Soldier.
There's not a bad top deck. It's not going to do much more than the last one did and clear the board.
It might be able to push just a little bit more damage.
It will push, if he chooses to go all in here, 5 plus 6, so 11. Not too shabby, but he does not have a reasonable follow-up to this play in the following turns. And Themis' Purge is, just kind of a last-ditch panic button in case anything else happens. And of course, that one puppet having double the effect on it.
And I think this Nemesis Purge is going to be... Oh, not even needed here.
Not even needed. That'll seal it right there.
Yeah, Jean is going to clear this board and put Onion Sheep in a position where he's got to clear a 2/3 while developing a board. And I don't think that's going to be possible.
Nope, because even if he did develop a board, Themis' Purge would just wipe it out, and that'd be game. And that's Disastrous Sheepy going down to Pain, to Fake Pain, to New Pain. We're not gonna call him fake. We'll call him new.
He is the person delivering the pain. That's all I know.
Gave Sheepy the smackdown there. So what do you think we're going to see these players side in? What does Sheepy have to side in against this Tenko deck?
So for Sheepy, he has access to, if you give me just one moment, he has access to... Where is the sideboard?
That's his actual list.
Is
it this one?
These are both the actual list. Is it this one?
That's Pain.
Oh my goodness.
Technical difficulties, having trouble finding the right list.
It's... It looks like Onion Sheep just submitted his 40-card main deck twice. So maybe he doesn't have a sideboard?
Maybe give him a ping and ask him about it.
Oh, here it is.
Oh,
here it is.
Oh,
he does have a sideboard.
I forget that Bagoom has a sideboard feature in their websites, so it's just at the bottom here.
So on his sideboard, we have 3x Goblin, which is a card that I find very interesting, is making its way into a lot of Puppet Portal lists.
I think because as the goal, I like the reasoning for it being there. The goal is to chip your opponent down with these small followers and with these Silva effects stacking up over time. And I think Goblin plays very well into that. It's a low threat follower that is likely to not be dealt with early on, and then even later on, it's not priority. And it'll just constantly get these 1 damage chips in here and there. And it really helps set up for Noah's and Orcus to come down.
Another thing about the Goblin is Goblin will oftentimes bait out a trade with a 2/2, right? I go my Goblin, you play your 2 play point 2/2. Then you eventually trade your 2 play point 2/2 over my Goblin. Well, if I'm have puppets in my deck, puppets trade very nicely over 2/1s. They trade into them for free. So Goblin just sets up for gets in that free extra bit of chip damage and then sets up for a nice trade later on in the game.
Now, of course, also in Sheepy's sideboard are 2 Seraphic Blades and 2 Satungers. And I think we'll likely see all 3 Goblins, both Seraphic Blades and both Satungers come in if he really wants to get around that, if he's really salty about those shrines. What do you think?
Suttinger, I think, is definitely for this matchup. I think if you're putting Suttinger in your deck list, you're saying, I want to target the strong amulets that Haven has access to. It's a great way to deal with something like a Temple of the Holy Lion. It's a great way to deal with something like a Tenko Shrine. And it also deals with White Fang Temple. White Fang Temple, I think, is the biggest one of those because White Fang Temple at the moment is hard to deal with. Yeah. Something like Seraphic Blade, sure, you can break the amulet, but then you're giving your opponent a 6/6.
Of course, the Tunger banishes. Being very nice. And again, we see Payne, our hosting player, not leave the lobby to sideboard. Of course, he could just have a pre-made list that he moves into if he wants to. But assuming he has his sideboarded list already pre-made, do you think we see him go into Lion Crystals here?
I don't know, actually. Between the two matchups, I'm not sure which is better. I think we did see the regular Tenko version do pretty well. But if you are Payne, right, you have to imagine your opponent might be bringing in these Suttingers. They might be bringing in these Seraphic Blades. Maybe you want to go on more of a Holy Lion Crystal plan so that you're not so dependent on these amulets that might get removed. Doesn't look like that's the case, though, as we do see White Fang Temple into Tenko Shrine.
And Almirage. That's very, very strong curve, looks like, for this Tenko player. And I think that the reasoning with staying with Tenko is you just beat that matchup pretty handily last time. Of course, this time even better, getting your Tenko in the mulligan. And you're confident on it, right? So you're just going to stay on it and keep cruising what you're doing. Now, Sheepy, of course, taking a very long time, as he does, to think about his mulligan.
I wonder which of these players is going first and which of these players is going second, because I feel like that's going to matter quite a bit here. I think the Silva is going to get kept no matter what, but I think Nicholas depends very much. If you're going first, I think the Nicholas is much better to keep.
I actually quite like keeping this opening hand, as you have the Hamlin on 2 to copy a 3-drop. You have the Silva to accelerate one of your copied 3-drops, and then you have Nicholas on 4 just to continue curving out.
The issue with this hand at the moment, though, is you don't have that 2 or 3-drop other than the Hamlin.
And of course, we do see Sheepy keep the whole hand. And I think we'll see him. There's a very high likelihood he draws into a 2 or 3-drop here. And I think a mistake Sheepy made last game was not accelerating out that Silva on turn 3. He missed so much chip damage that game because he didn't have that effect rolling.
It seems like one of these players was supposed to go first, but didn't go first.
Of course, there's a rule in our tournament where the loser of the first match of the best of 3 gets to decide whether or not they go first or second in the second game. Looks like Sheepy wanted to go first, and there was an issue with the lobby, and they forgot to change it over so that he went first. I think it's fine if they just remake. So, looks like they're going to remake the room right here. And we'll get back into it in just a minute. All right, sorry about that mute. We're back. Adam or Cesaro is just taking a quick trip to the bathroom, and we're gonna get right back into this game. It's so alone in here. If you're joining us here pretty recently, this is game 2 of Sheepy versus Payne in the semifinals, I believe, with Sheepy on Portal and Payne on Havencraft. Payne is up 1-0 in this best of 3, and both players just went to their sideboards to tech for this matchup a little bit.
Though we do think that Payne may or may not have brought anything at all in. I think he might just be playing his main deck here.
Of course, it makes a lot of sense to stick with your list that already won. Feeling pretty confident about it. It really hurts to remake that game, as you had a pretty nice opening hand as the Tinko player. He might be a little bit salty that he doesn't still have it.
Well, it was his responsibility to set the room up for his opponent to go first, and he didn't.
Of course. And we do see the accelerated Silva. So we're going to get a lot of that chip damage in here this game.
And really, not too much changed, I feel, from these mulligans. We do have a very similar curve, I feel, to how both these players would have made their first couple turns had they not mulliganed.
Yeah, and we do see that the Satungers came in for Sheepy. So he's going to be able to deal with those lions, or not lions, rather, Tinko, later on in the game.
Yeah, so
now, this card, the Nicholas, I really like this card. I think it's a lot of value, and it's a lot of versatility that comes in through the mid game.
What I like about Nicholas, and actually a few of the 4-drops we've gotten in this expansion already, the Forest Gold being one of them. I can't remember her name at the moment. Matera, yeah. Is we have these 4-drops that actually don't feel embarrassing to play on turn 4. Nicholas, even if he gets removed, he left behind a Robomi. It's worth it. You're getting a 5/5 in a couple turns. It's very good for 4 mana.
Very good against aggro, too. Very hard for aggro to get over these 5/5 wards. Spinaria being a very good play here. This is what I was talking about earlier, being a very good occasional 1 damage ping.
Yeah, and here that 1 damage is going to be massive.
Gonna keep this Spinaria at 6 HP.
You're getting 5/7, 5/8 really worth of stats here. Plus the extra 1 ping. Spinaria is tons and tons of value.
And we do see no single follower in the hand of Payne that can deal with this Spinaria.
Yeah, and
of course, Holy Fist can kill it if he also trades.
This is very awkward here if you are Payne, because you're not really working towards anything. You have your Delafill to play next turn, but you don't have a Tenko Shrine. Even if you were to get that Tenko Shrine soon, it'll get answered pretty quickly by the Suttinger.
Yeah, that's the problem with not having your Tenko Shrine out on 4, especially when your opponent bringing Satunger to the party.
And this is the 1-0 Staircase to Paradise in the sideboard. And I think it's going to matter quite a bit here. It's going to allow him to really refill his hand.
I think if Payne takes 1 more low tempo Terran, he's going to drop that thing for 5, and he's going to refill his hand, and maybe not have card advantage because of the size of Payne's hand, but he will definitely have a lot more to work with.
Yeah, and with the that Pure-Hearted Singer also going to be popping soon, plus that artifact that is going to draw him a card when it dies. He's got plenty of cards at the moment.
The Delafill coming down to somewhat counteract the effect of the Silva that was played earlier. Healing off that 1 chip damage every turn.
This Delafill, not really enough. The Gogo Robomi is going to be able to evolve right over that 6/7 if he so chooses.
We do see the Staircase come down right here, and of course, the Evolve over. And 3 more damage to the face. We're getting dangerously close to lethal range with Noah.
We're looking at a board where top decking something like a Jean, Beacon of Salvation, would be pretty nice. But even that, I'd feel, is not quite enough at the moment.
Black Inscripture does feel pretty nice to have here. He wishes he could play that Nemesis Purge, and we'll likely see it come down next turn.
Nemesis Purge would have been pretty nice because it would really slow down that that staircase that's about to go off.
Definitely. Of course, no more evolves is also kind of painful for Payne here.
There's the Jean.
And he's going to be taking 5-6 more damage to face here, and I think that just means Noah's pretty close to finishing the game off. Of course, he's not going to get puppets, unfortunately, out of the Flower Doll there. Banishes the Lion Temple. Not Lion Temple.
So
White Fang Temple.
I want to point something out about that banish. So we may have been in a position where Onion Sheep might have been able to conceal the information of that Suttinger and still win the game without actually exposing the Suttinger and exposing that he brought those into his deck. So now Payne has an idea that some of this amulet removal came in, So maybe we'll see Pain go back to a sideboard, or go to a sideboard to begin with, and start bringing something in to help him deal with this artifact, this amulet removal.
Very true, very true. He could have kept that Satunga secret. And immediately after it was played, we saw the Tinker Shrine top deck. Of course, Jean being a better play there to clear the board out. But I think we're just going to see game here with the Orcus that was drawn by Sheepy, or the Noah.
Noah will also do it.
I guess both in the game. Orcus just does it with more vials.
Yeah,
it better.
The fancier way to go about it. But that is going to be it. Noah is going to make quick work of this game. So we're going into a game 3 now for Pain and Onion Sheep.
Yep, tied up going into game 3.
So I would like to see Pain at least take a look at a sideboard.
Yeah, I think he should definitely consider looking at something now. I don't remember exactly what all he had in there aside from just Lion Package.
I think Lion Package, when you know your opponent has a few ways to bring in amulet removal against you, I think the Lion Package might just be safer.
What do you think Sheepy's going to predict? That he's going to switch over to Lions after that game?
I don't know. At the moment, it doesn't look like Pain seems like she's changing his mind. It seems like Pain is dead set on bringing the same lineup.
Again, he could have pre-made lists. Just with the Lions in one and the Tinker Shrine in the other.
That's absolutely a possibility.
We saw Sheepy move. We might see Satungers out and Seraphic Blades in if he thinks that Pain will switch over to Lions.
We might see all of those in. We might see the Suttungers and the Seraphic Blades.
We don't know for sure that he didn't have him in last game. All we saw was the one Satunger.
I imagine that Suttunger especially is for the Haven matchup. And the Seraphic Blade is just good in those matchups. They're able to deal with the same types of amulets.
True, but however, you don't get the banish on the Seraphic Blade. Satunger has the benefit of not popping White Fang Tipples.
Fairies love to revel in their mischief. Did you know that?
I don't think I've ever seen that card played.
I don't think I have either.
There's a lot of cards like that in Basic or in Standard.
Well, that card is from the new set.
Is it?
Yeah, that one enhances, and it gives a creature, I think, like +1/+4 or something like that. I know it gives stats when it enhances, and I think it refunds some play points as well.
You're right. I completely forgot the name of this card.
Oh, it doesn't refund play points. It gives you 3 defense. Right.
Yeah. I didn't remember because this card's bad.
So a Globe of the Starways, pulling a Seal Tome. Immediately playing that Seal Tome. I feel like we see so many Seal Tomes on turn 1. It just blows my mind.
Yeah, of course you keep it in Mulligan. Globes pull it, which you also keep in Mulligan, so... Getting some free cycle ain't bad. Likely see the Happy Pig. And the Morier on turn 3, as is tradition.
Do you think there's any possibility we might see the Jean come down on turn 3 to keep pressuring that board?
I think not. It played such a huge part in obviously not winning the game, but staying in the game for as long as possible when enhanced last game. I think it's better kept. And playing Morier on 3, so it answers your opponent evolve, just feels so good. Of course, not opting for the value trade, as the puppet would just be able to come back down and return it.
Yeah, Flower Doll is much more like a 2/2 than she looks, because she does give you that puppet. It lets you put that 1 damage wherever you want.
The second Flower Doll coming down here. Card feels really nice when it gives itself back into your hand. Of course, it's not going to here, because he has way too many cards in hand. What do you think about this Bear Puppeteer? This is a card that I haven't seen very many other of these lists playing.
I've seen this card pick up in popularity just a little bit the past couple days.
I think a JCG list played it, and that's where it all came from, or
Well-
is coming from.
Well, Bear Puppeteer is a solid 2 play point 2/2, which at the very least is not bad. And then it's got a nice ability. If you have a little bit extra play points lying around, you can enhance it. You get a free puppet. You get a little bit of extra stats. You know, it's not bad.
And of course, Paracelsus Evolve coming down. Is that the Rush Golem, it looks like?
This is Tove Golem.
So he's going to completely clear out this Snow White. and leave 2 followers on board to ping out to not be totally brought off board by this Moria.
Paracelsus was very strong there. Much like how Paracelsus tends to be. Paracelsus is a very powerful card in this deck that Portal recently got.
And the mind game I was mentioning about pulling out Satungers and putting in Seraphic Blades, seems he did keep the Satungar in.
I still imagine those Seraphic Blades are also there.
Yep. We didn't even mention it, but it also seems that Payne did stay on his Tinko list. Of course, drawing much worse this time than I think he has previously.
His hand is, I feel, about the same as it was last game. They're similar style hands, just both missing the Tenkos in the early game.
Anytime you see Haven not play the Tinko on 4, you're just bless RNG the entire time. Please don't draw it. Here's Spinaria being played as a mid-game body, just decent 2 bodies in the on the board.
Leaving behind 5 power on the board, 4 defense on the board. Not at all an unreasonable play.
And of course, Delafil, it's a card.
Delafil is a very powerful card.
I'm upset with it, but it's a card.
Do you think we might see the incredibly ballsy play of Suttinger on that Moriai?
No.
I didn't think so
We
either.
definitely just see this Lococo come down, give him back the free puppet, take the 1 damage face. Of course, the ping from the artifact means that he will be able to trade away this there. So, only giving Sheepy 1 puppet.
He
Of
won't be able to
course,
trade away the bear.
The Moria hitting the 2/2, so that's going to guarantee at least 1 more puppet for Sheepy, meaning this Orcus will be active, assuming he doesn't use 1 next turn.
So you do have 2 Sirenian Hinds, but you have no amulets. You have a Delafil, but you already have Delafil active, so the second one isn't very helpful. And then you have 2 Jean Beacon of Salvations. Now the Jeans are going to be good to help clear these boards, but unless you're doing something with clearing the board, you're not really bringing yourself any closer to a win condition.
Yep, and of course, not a small board, as giving your opponent these bears does still give them followers. So it's not like a completely non-scary board. That's still 6 damage he's staring at, plus another ward coming down. Likely a banish as well.
I don't even think you need to remove your bears anymore. Your opponent's got so many cards in their hand that the bears might actually force them to overdraw cards.
Yeah, I think if I were Payne in this position, I would attempt to use the bears to leverage my board position and just push face with them as much as possible. Payne disagreed, traded 1 away. Is that Vengeful Puppet?
This is Vengeful
Of
Puppet.
course, we see Vengeful Puppet coming down
I
here.
think this puppet's going to be here to clear the board.
Yep, most likely going to trade, as he's going to have 3... He's going to have the 1/1 stealth and then 2 storm dudes.
2 Storm Bros.
Yep, so it looks like he's probably going to trade the board out here. Or he can go face once and then clear the moon to get another puppet, which he might like, as he has the 2 Noahs in hand. Yep, chooses to do so.
Yeah, I'm just going to refund himself a puppet. And
Beacon of Salvation looking very nice on this board.
yeah, it's going to be able to clear up all of this board. He is trading that puppet, saying, you know what, this puppet is doing me more harm than it is help at the moment. I just want to get rid of it.
If he's counting puppets being put into Sheepy's hand, then he realizes that he doesn't have any puppets in hand, and that leaving the bear alive only gives him what his win con requires. If I were Sheepy in this position, I'd probably play Noah just to get 1 more puppet, and then start buffing the 1 you have in your hand, and not play that puppet, but save it for maybe later. Sheepy, however, disagrees, goes for the higher tempo play.
Now, this is an interesting turn here for Payne. I imagine he's just going to be going with the Jean. I was thinking he would have wanted to, at the very least, lead on his Moriai, see what he draws. But he disagrees.
Of course, good players draw last.
I don't know if that's exactly how people like to say that phrase. Drawing first, generally, seeing the options you have available to you is oftentimes the best way to go about doing it.
Yep. Could see Orcas come down here just to get puppets, but we do see Noah come down.
Know what to trade.
Yep, just trades with that Noah. The play I said last turn just buffs the one puppet he has in hand. This leaves the Orcus online and the other Noah ready to buff some more.
Double Sirenian Lightheim to trade.
Not a play you feel too good about.
But it's fine enough, I feel.
But yeah, it is staying on the board. You're by no means in danger of losing the game here.
Yeah, you have plenty of time to find some stuff, but you do need to find some stuff. I think if there isn't a Tenko Shrine found the next turn or two, this Jewel Priestess needs to come down and start drawing some cards.
I feel like he could have gotten it down earlier, as he is on 20 health, and he's not really, I think, afraid of taking too much damage here. Sheepy, of course, still trading his life away with these puppets. Noah going to be going right here, too. That's no more puppets in hand, and that's his second Orcus. We don't know if he sideboarded in his third one, as his main board only played 2.
Yeah, he might be running out of actual ways to close out the game. Now look at this. Tenko Shrine has not actually found its Tenko Shrine this whole game, but it's been able to...
All 3 bottom 16.
Yeah, but it's been able to hold on to the board the entire time, and just somehow it's still winning the damage race.
Slowly but surely. Satunga does not feel bad here. Get rid of one of these and get rid of the other one on the next turn. However, maybe you don't want to...
You are paying 6 play points for a 3-2. It doesn't feel amazing.
But you're also denying a 6-6.
That you are.
And of course, we're going to see draw come out here. Probably Dark Hive? Light Hive goes for the Light Hive. Doesn't want to draw immediately.
I think that's going to be running right into that Suttinger.
Of course. And can clear both of these if he chooses to do so. Tinkerhaven just stalling out as long as possible. I don't want to push face damage. I want to find
my Tenko Shrines.
My pings. If you liked it, he should have put a ping on it.
Seal Tome for...
Sacred Teachings. Doesn't that one give the bird?
That is the one that gives the bird. I would have liked to see the Forbidden Teachings there. Your hand is empty. Getting more cards is absolutely a good thing to have here.
His reasoning might have been that I believe the draw one is
it makes
2 countdown?
It's countdown 1, but once it pops, you're not able to play any creatures that turn.
True. Okay. Just going to see a bunch of copying here. Okay. I thought if it was countdown 2, maybe his reasoning was he doesn't want it to clog the board.
That would make sense. Now, he ended up drawing a Jewel Priestess this turn, so he wouldn't have been able to play that this turn, but...
Of course, he still can't play the draw. Goes for the Black Diamond instead when he has 1 card in hand.
This is very interesting. He also leaves up the 5/5, where if he had traded...
Now, if you're Sheepy here, do you Satunga the White Diamond? I guess the answer is no.
Yeah, the answer is a very quick no, but that's actually worth considering, because if you do see that your opponent's running out of cards. So that might be the way you win this game, is by stopping them from actually having the resources to win the game.
Sheepy opting to keep his puppets, and finally we see a Tenko Shrine as I believe that was the 11th card in his deck. Or the 11th to last card in his deck.
Yeah, it took just a little bit. But now here, even with the Suttinger, it doesn't really look very good. Suttinger is not going to help him deal with this board.
No, I think that's going to be the game for Payne, is no matter what he does, he can't...
And there is the Seraphic
might have helped, but I don't think we're going to see a way for him to both clear the board and set up shielding for the Payne.
But that's not going to stop him from trying.
Of course, of course. Always give your all.
Do you think we're going to see 4 puppets come down to clear everything here?
He doesn't even clear everything. It does clear one thing, which might be enough. He could also just leave them there to absorb pings. Chooses not to.
Well, using it to absorb pings actually won't be enough here, because this Jean Beacon of Salvation is going to close the door on this.
Yep. And that is Payne taking a best of 3 against Sheepy with the BM in there.
Respect.
2-1.
So pretty strong game for Payne, saying, you know, this whole sideboarding thing, I don't get it. And I don't want to get it.
And that'll do it. Beat Sheepy in a sideboard tournament without sideboarding.
Who needs your sideboard?